Hey knitters! Welcome to episode 168 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm your host, Devin You can find me at KnittyMcPurly.com. I am Knitty McPurly on Instagram, and if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Welcome! Happy Sunday! I hope you're having just a wonderful, wonderful day of knitting. I'm hoping to do that later today. I'm drinking coffee this morning out of my Texas mug. Thank you, Amy, my Texan friend, who sent me this beautiful Texas mug. That's all the coffee, so I'm out. Today I am wearing my Williamsburg cowl with my finished Jovis duster. You guys, I have been wearing this duster non-stop, constantly. In fact, I wore it out the other day with my friends. I don't even think I can get far enough away for you to see the whole thing. And no one even said, your sweater is amazing. I think because my friends are not knitters, and so they don't recognize that, if I'm wearing a sweater like this, that means that I made it. And if they haven't seen it before, that means that I just finished it, and they should say something. They just don't realize that because they're not knitters. There you can see I've got the front band on. And actually, when I was putting this front band on, I thought I'm gonna need just the longest needle in the whole world. And I ended up using, I'm not even sure what it was, but it wasn't even the longest needle that I had. And it was just fine to put that front band on. Doesn't that look so good? It just looks so good. So when I sit down, I kind of like wrap it. It's like you're wearing a blanket. It's so comfy and nice, and I just love it. I'm so excited. I can't wait. For those of you who want to knit it, I can't wait for you to knit it. It's so much fun. My testers are working on theirs right now, and it's just so great. I can't wait to see it in every color. Now that I have mine in the Jovis colorway, I really feel like I need a darker one, but honestly, it is such a big project. I've actually started a second one for my daughter because she's going to college next year, and I'm kind of not ready to face that. So I just keep like starting projects for her, and hopefully I will finish some of them before she goes. I'm also wearing my Williamsburg cowl in this beautiful yellow color. This yarn is not from me. This is from Bigfoot Fibers, I think. And this is a great cowl. The reason I'm wearing this cowl is because my Flux cowl is missing. I cannot find it. I've been looking for it for days, and I just don't know where it is. I feel like maybe it's in the car, but I would have seen it because I spend a lot of time in the car. I don't know. I really wanted to wear my Flux cowl, but Williamsburg is a good stand-in for now. I am still a little bit sick. It's kind of a bummer. I'm like, surely this has got to be clearing up soon. I took some medicine and I'm feeling a little bit better, but still a little bit under the weather. Just a reminder, there will be no podcast next week. I'm fully just gonna take the week off of podcasting. I'm not going to try and squeak one in there with sickness and everything. Just not gonna do it. Okay, let's move on to progress and shop news. One really exciting thing that happened is that I got our local knitters meetup on the calendar. It is Sunday, March 24th from 1 until 3. If you are local, I live in the Gainesville, Bristow, Warrenton part of Virginia in Northern Virginia. If you are local and you would like to come and join me for this meetup, please do. We're gonna meet at the Sunshine Ridge Winery, which is right by my house, and it's from 1 to 3. So that's Palm Sunday. If you go to my website, there's a little events tab. You can click on that and it will give you all of the details of the meetup. This winery, in case if you're not a wine drinker, they also have beer and cider. And you can also bring stuff, like if you wanted to bring water or something else to drink or snacks. Feel free to bring some snacks to share. I will bring some too. And we will all just sit and knit from 1 until 3. I cannot wait. It's gonna be so much fun. I can't wait to meet you guys. Those of you who live locally, I know that there's a bunch of you. So if you're local and you're free on Palm Sunday, I hope you can make it down or up, depending on where you are, and we can hang out and do some knitting. That is going to be great. So if it works out and if we like it, maybe we can do this, periodically. Why not? Sounds like fun, right? Okay, also last call for February's color of the month. This is the sock set, but you can also get just February's color of the month in Frankfurt Fingering or Dubrovnik DK for another week. So last call for that if you're interested. I also have some balm that is still in stock. I have some that was in the winter scent, the mimosa cardamom, and I think there's a couple left in the Valentine's Day scent too. So if you want to get that, go and grab it. I pulled this one out. This was one of my early balms, this peony one, because my nose has been so dry and it just gets itchy. And so I've been like just putting it in my nose like this. I know that's kind of gross, but it works so well. Like I put it on there last night. I put on just a bunch of it. Am I all shiny now? And it helped so much. I woke up this morning to it just being so much less dry. So hand balm, nose balm. And when I was doing that, my daughters who are, kind of social media savvy, they watch all these dog videos. And there are so many pampered dogs on Instagram who get nose balm. And so Gigi's all putting the balm on Rocky's nose and he's like trying to lick it off and whatever. Anyway, the balm is great. It is great for all of your dry places in the winter. Hands, feet, noses, whatever. Okay, the Wildflower Tea Knit Along, which is being run by Wise Owl Knits. I'm gonna link all of the stuff for the Knit Along below. I had some questions last time. Where do I find this pattern, etc.? All of that will be linked in the description box. So if you are interested in joining the Wildflower Knit Along, it starts on Friday. But I started early because I just was ready to start. I finished my duster and that was my cue that I was allowed to start a new project. So last week I showed my colors and this week I'll have to show, it's hard to see, you know how these things are when they're on the needles, but this is how far I've gotten. So I did adapt the pattern a little bit. It calls for a provisional cast on. And instead of doing that and going back and doing the I-cord, I just did a little bit of ribbing. There's like 4 rows of ribbing there in the neck. And the pattern is very adaptable to however many colors you want to use. But this is kind of what I've got going on so far. It's been really fun. This is just my, I'm in the car and I'm waiting for a kid to come out of a thing. And so I'll work on it then. So it's just like, it's at the end of the day and I have a little bit of free time and I can knit a little bit. So that's how far I've gotten on that. I hope that you're going to join in the knit along. Like I said, it does start on Friday. And I think that there are still a few kits left and there are bags still left if you want to join in on that. Like I said, I will link all of that below, but I've talked about it for several weeks. So that is that. I've also been thinking about all of my languishing whips. Do you have those? Do you have those languishing whips that you have started and you just haven't really looked back on? I really need to focus on those, but they're not that exciting because I've seen them before. I've got a sweater that I'm working on for my daughter, like I said. I'm working on a crochet blanket for her. I just need to pull these things out and put some time into them and show them on the podcast too. So, all right, Charlotte wanted to come on. She just had a few small things she wanted to share. So here is Charlotte Shows Off. Welcome to Charlotte Shows Off. You might be wondering.
Hi. So,
wait.
wait.
Okay, did you bump your toe?
No, it was right
Got
here.
her crown on today.
Yeah, so I made these things. It's not like I didn't knit them, but I just kind of, like I was kind of bored. So I made these for my mom for her birthday.
It was my birthday last week.
Yeah, so there's this one. This one is for the winter one. They're to hang.
So these are, it's like an embroidery hoop, and Charlotte just wrapped them. And we're just gonna hang them up as decor. So let's show the other ones.
So that one's the winter one. This one's tropical.
Tropical.
Wait!
See, and I'm gonna do it like in
you have a sweater like that with that yarn?
Similar. It's not the same one.
Huh.
It's similar though. All right, and then you hold up the third one.
And then this one, wait. Yeah, this one was tropical, winter, and this one's spring.
Yeah, and then I'm going to hang them up like this in my little...
Yeah, and I also have a special guest.
Oh, our special guest is here. That's so close they can't even see him.
I know.
All right, you want to do his voice?
Hi. So no one else can have my voice like this because I just am...
Do you remember Tom?
Yes.
Tom
if you don't, you should be kicked out of the podcast because everyone loves me.
All right, wave bye, Tom.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, topic of the week. Let me ask you this. When you are working a colorwork sweater, do you mind holding more than 2 strands of yarn at the same time? I covered this before probably about a year ago when I was working on a design that held 4 colors together. And I tried all of the different little finger things that keep the yarn separated. And it makes it doable, but in my humble opinion, it is not enjoyable to knit with more than 2 colors. I love knitting color work with holding 2 colors at the same time. But as soon as you add in a 3rd or even a 4th color, it just becomes so much more cumbersome. And I feel like the stitches just don't look as good. Now, in this pattern by Cheryl Beckridge of Wise Owl Knits, there are a few places where you are holding 3 colors, such as in the middle of these flowers. There is a part of these flowers where you're supposed to be holding 3 colors, but I skipped it. But you could easily do that. You could easily just skip those parts in a design like this. In the design that I was working on about a year ago, it would not have been possible. There was no option for skipping. And so, and that's why I ended up not publishing that pattern. I just felt like it was so kind of annoying to hold that many colors at one time. All right. Moving right along to the comment section, Lori Noland said, Summer Lee's book, The Sock Project, is worth every penny. Not only are there so many new sock patterns, but she has a wonderful sense of humor. I'm reading through it page by page. She has lots of tips and tricks for new sock knitters and for seasoned sock knitters. I am enjoying it immensely. And many of you commented on this book because I last week said that I thought that some of the patterns were probably ones that had been previously published, but apparently that is not the case. They are all new patterns, which is awesome. That book just looks so good to me. I went through the details of it last week and I showed the whole preview that they show you on Amazon, and it just looks like such a good book. Laundromat Girl says, OMG, Charlotte, you have expressed how so many knitters feel at times. I enjoyed no part of it. We have all had a project like that. Bless you, sweet child. Isn't that the truth? Some projects are just more fun than others. And sometimes they're worth it in the end. Like it's a lot of work. Like for example, if you're knitting a duster, but it's worth it in the end because it is such an amazing garment that you love wearing. So sometimes, it's more enjoyable to make and less enjoyable to wear. And sometimes it goes the other way. Holly said, Summer Lee also has a podcast and she talks about her book. She said that they are all new patterns. I think it would be great to have a sock along going through the book. I'm not much of a sock knitter, but I love the look of colorwork socks. Praying you get to feeling better. Thank you for all your positive content on YouTube. It is much needed. Thank you so much for that lovely comment. Sometimes it's hard to be here. Like sometimes I am just not feeling good, but I love you guys and I really want to put this out for you. I know so many of you enjoy it and look forward to it. And it is, I hope, a beacon of positivity in the knitting community. I've come across some new knitting podcasts lately, and some of them are kind of addictive. Not necessarily positive, and I don't necessarily agree with them, but still kind of addictive. Anyway, moving right along to knitting fantasies. I came across a lovely designer whose name is Eleanor Mortensen on Ravelry. This first sweater is the Renaissance sweater, and I saw it because it was the number one pattern on Ravelry this morning. And I thought, gosh, the sweater is so gorgeous and beautiful. And I thought this would be great to highlight on Knitting Fantasies. The Renaissance sweater is a fingering weight 2-color sweater that comes in 5 sizes and is available in English, German, and French. It looks to me like Eleanor's native language is German because the description is in German, but it does come in English too. I just thought this was so, so pretty, just gorgeous. So then when I went looking for another pick, I found this one. This one is also by Eleanor, and it is called the Secret Garden Sweater. The same things are true of this one, except that it is available in 9 sizes. And it's very similar, just a little bit different, but I just thought, gosh, these are so cool. I love how she has this very ornate colorwork motif that's only in 2 colors and how it continues onto the sleeves. I just think that is so pretty and so interesting and creative and makes such a gorgeous finished sweater in the end. All right, so here's what happened. I love this knitting story. This knitting story was sent to me by a wonderful podcast watcher named Sue. Hi, Sue. Sue from Ohio. And first of all, it's a great story. Second of all, I love that she starts off by saying, so this just happened to me this morning. Knitting stories are constantly happening to us, and we just have to pay attention to them and say, oh my gosh, that just happened. It was awesome/terrible. I need to tell Devin about it so that she can share it on the podcast. If some crazy thing happens to you today, send me an email and tell me about it so that I can share it with the listeners on the podcast, because these stories, they just keep us going. They keep me going. I know that for sure. Sue said, so this just happened to me this morning. I was in a hurry to meet a few friends at a coffee shop to catch up on life. I decided that I would take along my knitting project, a cowl that I started recently with some very lovely yarn. I used my brand new Addy Rocket 2 needles to cast on the project. Well, when in my hot hurry to get out the door, I didn't realize that my new knitting needles with the cowl in progress were not all the way in my fancy project keeper, a Ziploc bag. Evidently, I didn't close the bag while balancing the other things to place in the car. The needles and the partly completed cowl didn't make it all the way into the car. We know where this is going. Imagine my surprise/horror when I opened the car door to see a long trail of yarn with no needles and no cowl attached. Oh man. So the project dangled out of the car, the new needles and the beautifully knit cowl that was begun, in what stage I'm not sure, does not matter, and it was gone along on the road somewhere. Oh my gosh, that is so tragic. I am so sorry, Sue. And you might think that the story ends there, but no, Sue has more. She says, well, if this were my only mishap with knitting projects gone missing, I could stop here, but no, there is more. In 2020, I left my first sweater project in an Airbnb. The mostly complete sweater was in a white canvas tote bag that I laid on the bed after I had stripped the bed for our departure. White. It blended right in with the rest of the pillows and the duvet. I made it all the way home before I realized I had left the bag behind. There is a happy ending, however. I contacted the property owner and they found and forwarded my sweater to me. Ugh. But I am glad you got it back, Sue. Now you would think that has to be it, right? No more lost projects. Well, you would unfortunately be wrong. Sue goes on. I saved the best for last. 2 years ago, I took my elderly parents to Florida for a 2-week winter break. My mother, who has some memory issues, has always loved and collected bags. Whether it be purses, totes, or shopping bags, let's just say we call her the bag lady. Before the trip, I had purchased an official knitting bag on Amazon. I was determined to put my knitting in a proper and colorful bag so as not to blend in with the linens and get left behind again. Boy, was I delighted that it had plenty of room for the yarn I had purchased to knit a sweater for my preteen grandson. It also had lovely pockets to put in my newly purchased set of ChowGoo interchangeable needles, as well as all my knitting notions and accessories. I was truly beginning to feel like a legit knitter. Nope, my dear dad gathered up my new knitting bag and everything else, thinking that surely this belonged in the bag lady's room at our overnight hotel en route to Florida. Again, imagine my surprise when I unloaded the car upon arrival at our vacation rental a day later, and my knitting bag was nowhere to be found. Come to find out, my mom did not recognize the bag as anything she would ever buy, so she surmised that the ugly bag had been left behind by a prior guest. She put a note on it saying, "Lost and found," and left it for the housekeeping staff to find. Oh, man. When I called the hotel, they searched their lost and found no knitting bag. All my yarn, needles, and notions were never recovered. Sob. The moral of the story is, whether you have a fancy handcrafted knitting bag or a Ziploc bag, pay attention. They tend to wander off. Oh man, Sue, oh my gosh, that is so many knitting stories. So much tragedy, some goodness, mostly tragedy. I am so sorry. You know, though, pay attention is just a very important thing to remember. I am constantly losing my phone because I put it down and I'm not paying attention when I put it down. I do that all the time. That's probably what happened to my cowl that's missing. Hopefully this story has a happy ending and I find it. If not, I'll have to knit another one because I absolutely love that cowl. Oh my gosh. Sue, thank you so much for sharing your tragedy with us so that we can feel the heart wrench along with you. I hope you all have a wonderful day of knitting. Hold tight to those knitting projects. Hold tight to those bags and needles and notions. Don't let them wander off. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye, knitters.